Howdy folks, Sunny South. Hope everybody doing real good. Blackened halibut on the menu this evening. A couple of days ago, 2 videos ago, I put together an unsalted blackening spice. We're going to use that to get this little old cut of halibut blackened up in a skillet. Once we get it cooked, we're going to make a little bit of a pan sauce. It's super simple to do, super delicious. Halibut's one of my favorite cuts for blackening. I also like cod, redfish, snapper works good. Of course, catfish, tilapia, rockfish, it's all good. When you blacken it, it makes it extra good. And I'm going to tell a little bit of story here later on while this is cooking about the history of blackening. I always found it to be very interesting. So other than the blackening seasoning, you're going to need a little bit of salt. We're going to salt that a little bit first because, like I said, this is unsalted. Going to need a high smoke point cooking oil. We're going to need some minced garlic, some parsley, some Old Bay. If you don't have Old Bay, you can use that blackening spice. It's going to be going in the sauce. Going to need a little bit of lemon juice and a couple tablespoons of butter. Let's get to cooking. First thing we're going to do is get some high smoke point cooking oil on here. This is avocado oil, but you can use vegetable oil, canola oil. You know, olive oil will probably work okay too, as long as you kept the heat down pretty good. You don't want to burn that olive oil. And actually, it probably would work. We're not going to cook this super hot. It's not a very thick piece of halibut, so olive oil would work. We're going to get a little salt on here. I'm just going to put the blackening seasoning on one side, and you want to make sure you get a nice even coat of blackening spice on here. Not a very thick heavy coat, just a nice light coat. If you put too much on, you may take away from the flavor of the fish and just overpower the fish, and that's not what we want to do with blackening. It looks pretty good. Let's get a skillet heated up. Get a little avocado oil in the skillet. And you know, typically I would blacken fish in a cast iron skillet, but I'm only doing one little piece here. So I'm just going to use this little small Teflon coated. It'll work just fine. Let's see if we're hot enough yet. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. Let's drop it down. Get a fan going. We're over about a medium heat. We're just going to let this cook here a couple of minutes on that side, and then we'll turn it and get that side there blackened up. So while we're watching this little old filet blacken up here, I want to talk a little bit about the history of this. Blackening is a technique that really just changes the characteristics and flavor profiles of common herbs and spices. Paul Prudhomme, who's pretty much credited for this style of cooking, he was a young cook from Opelousas, Louisiana, hired by the Brennan family to head up the kitchen, Commander's Palace, down in the Garden District. I believe maybe in the late 70s, early 80s, not real sure. And he was a genius in the kitchen, always, you know, like experimenting and developing different things. To me, he was like the original fusionist. So when he went to work for Commanders, he basically started fusing that restaurant's classic Creole menu with his Royal Cajun ingredients and style of cooking. He was actually so good at executing that fusion that most people outside the state of Louisiana can't even tell the difference anymore between Creole and Cajun cuisine. At one point he developed a spice blend and blackened a piece of redfish in a hot cast iron skillet. And that blackened redfish became such a hit that the redfish almost become extinct at one time, and it's still pretty tightly controlled. Most redfish you buy today is mostly commercial farmed and comes out of the state of Texas. Take a quick peep here, see what we're doing. Should be ready to flip. Let's go ahead and flip it. Let this side here get nice and blackened. After a few years, Chef Paul Prudhomme moved from Commander's Palace and went on to start his own restaurant and his own seasoning blends. And in my opinion, I think he kind of just put the culinary landscape of New Orleans on the map, what he accomplished down there. Emeril Lagasse, Mr. Bam, ended up replacing him, and he was there for a few years and then replaced by Torrey McPhail, who has since then moved off to Colorado. That was just an interesting history of blackening and how it came about, and that's what we're doing here today in this skillet. As far as the internal temp on this fish, the USDA says to cook it to 145. And you can cook it to 145, it'll be edible. But I'm going to tell you, halibut is a meaty and very lean piece of fish. And I found that if you cook it to 145, you just burn through the moisture content of the fish, and it just is a little dry to me, so I'm going to try to cook mine to about 135, 140. We're just going a little bit cooler than what it calls for. It'll be fine. Nice piece of fish right there. Gonna be delish. I'm gonna cut the fire back on this and let it cook a few minutes there covered. Get some different readings. I'm gonna go ahead and pull that. It's probably around 138, 140. I'm gonna get us a little butter in the skillet. Just a little garlic in there. Sprinkle a little bit of Old Bay in. This is going to give us our salt. Lemon juice. Get that completely off the heat. Get some more butter in. Some parsley in here. That Old Bay smells real good. And like I said, if you don't have any Old Bay, you can just put some of your blackening seasoning in here. You might want to hit it with a touch of salt. Give this a quick taste here. It's pretty good. I'm going to get it out of the skillet so that butter don't separate. Let's get this plated up. Serve this up with a little bit of spring mix. You know, spinach always goes real good for some reason with blackened fish of any type. So we got some little baby spinach in there. Balsamic olive oil. Let's check this out. See how we done here. Oh yeah. Nice and flaky. I see some moisture still in that fish, so that 138, 140. Oh, that's so good. That's really good. And the bottom's got a little crisp to it, because most of the cooking took place there. And it wasn't seasoned with the blackening seasoning. I did that because I knew most of the cooking was going to take place on the bottom. And you'll just burn that blackening seasoning. So, turned out pretty good. And that little old pan sauce, it's got a little spice to it with that garlic. And the butter is cut with the acidity from the lemon. Makes it extra good. And that's it, folks. That's that blackened halibut. Extra good. Till next time, peace.